welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jodie. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm really, really good. Really super psyched and pumped to have you on the Beyond the Hashtag show, if you like. I'm calling it a show. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, go for it.
Anybody who isn't familiar with Mind, today I'm talking to Jodie, their fundraising and communications manager. Obviously, Mind is a national charity, and Jodie represents the work in the, is it Southwest region? Is it just for Bath? Or?
It's for BANES.
Okay.
Not everyone who doesn't live in BANES knows what BANES stands for, but BANES is Bath and North East Somerset. So as Bath Mine, we cover the entirety of the BANES region, and we have other local mines that do different patches, for example, Wiltshire Mine, Somerset Mine, so on.
Cool, of course, yeah. And we have kind of exchanged comments and stuff on socials, bumped into each other at the Southwest Charity Conference, see each other a couple of times, and we were talking about social media, and I just love what you guys do. So I was like, get you on the podcast.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice to hear. Yeah, and you know, exactly that. It's so nice to meet, you know, new people at conferences. That's what they're for. Yeah, really, really happy to be here.
Good. Amazing. So I'm going to dive straight in and with you, because you guys do social pretty well, I think. I'd like to say. You guys do social pretty well. So a lot of my questions are really going to be about social and charity work.
Yeah, sure.
And that power of social in achieving those goals.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody shouldn't know about Mind, give us a little overview of the services and the work that the charity does.
Yeah, of course. So for anyone that doesn't know about Bath Mind, we are a local and independent mental health charity. We operate across BANES, and we're essentially providing vital mental health services for people that are in need with their mental health. It really varies across mental health and well-being. We're very holistic, and we look into how different factors in our lives can put pressure on our well-being and our mental health. We've got a numerous amount of services, all on the spectrum of the journey of supporting people with their mental health. One of our newest services is our new A&E service. So we're placed within the A&E department up at the RUH in Bath. We have smaller services that are more focused on wellbeing groups. We have crisis lines. We pride ourselves on having a different service for everyone, really.
I saw that on your social media just this week about the A&E service, and what a fantastic idea, but it is a great deal. So innovative, I guess, and kind of much needed as well.
Yeah, I think it's been really helpful for us because a lot of people think, oh, a Bath Mine completely separate to our statutory services, our NHS, our GP, but we really like to think we complement our statutory services where they're not able to meet the demand, and let's face it, we all know the demand is high at the moment for mental health care. That's where we come in. We look for local funding pots, we look for statutory funding, and we make sure our services are feeling less pressure with us expertise and our amazing staff.
Cool. And how long have you been in post? How long have you been fundraising and communications manager?
So it's coming up to 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, it's really gone quickly, mostly because of COVID, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was in post about 1.5 years before COVID hit, and it feels like it's just been like a 2.5 year whirlwind since then. So yeah, it's been a decent stint at Bath Mine. I've really enjoyed every minute, to be honest.
Yeah. What was the picture before you started with their social and their comm strategy? Just touch upon like how you what your goals were when you first came into post, and then we can explore like where you're at.
Fantastic. Yeah. So there was a Twitter account and a Facebook account before I started. We had no capacity for anyone to focus on this. So this was very much, my manager, Hannah, who's still in post, as our Director of Business Development, she would be able to send out a tweet now and again. We'd have some of our wellbeing groups, working on the ground, already busy themselves, having to do a Facebook post now and again. There was no central team, there was no guideline strategy. So I didn't actually come into Bath Mine focused for social media. I joined as a fundraising and training officer. So working at our mental health offer to businesses, to local schools, to anyone that needed support with their staff's mental health, really. And did some fundraising as well. But as I'm sure you know, and anyone in the charity sector knows, social media is key to fundraising. There's so much potential for online giving, and we figured that out pretty quickly. So I started doing some social media bits. I had minimal experience. I'd done a few campaigns at a job before at English Heritage, which was great. But that again was because there was no one central there in the team that was in. So a few months in, started doing a few tweets, set up an Instagram account, And it really just rolled from there, to be honest. And it feels quite, strange to look back now and think we didn't even have an Instagram account. But just from there, it's just been learning on the job, upskilling where I can, and having some fun with it, really.
Nice. I love that. Where would you say, kind of to summarise, like where you're at right now, what does social media look like for you guys?
I would say right now, Bathmind social media it's at the forefront of the charity for the first time ever, which is so exciting. But we've still got so much to learn. You know, I think it's really exciting how, well, for example, you know, I was the first staff member that started doing it a decent chunk of their job.
Yeah.
I now am the communications and fundraising manager. I've got a team member on. Her name's Emily. She's wonderful.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily. I know you're listening. So she has been huge help in helping me kind of up the social media, not just the quality of it, but the amount of content we can put out. So I'd say we're in a big growth stage at the moment, but still very open to learning more, which I think is the kind of perfect stage to be at.
Definitely, and I think that there's always something to learn, right?
Always.
And as soon as you think, oh, this is it, we're settled in what we've got our Instagram strategy sorted, our Facebook strategy, then something else comes up and something else changes, and you really can't sit back and rest really when it comes to social. And the key is to stay on top of it, as we say, kind of be ahead of the curve with what's coming and what you should be using. So what were those challenges in the earlier days to social media when you first stepped in? You said obviously there was no resource really given to it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of getting people on board with the notion. How did you do that, and what other challenges were there?
That's such a good question. The biggest challenge, and I think this is what faces millions of small charities, is capacity and resource. There's always enthusiasm, like, you know, even where I was, you know, juggling a few jobs, there was still an enthusiasm that I wanted to do some stuff on social media. So that helps. Having a bit of passion, enthusiasm does help. We started small. I worked with my manager Hannah to make sure that we felt we weren't putting out too much. Yeah. I was trying to make sure that the content we did put out was really high quality. Started, you know, messing around on Canva. Canva, for anyone that doesn't know, is a lifesaver. It's an online graphic design tool, and not-for-profits get free memberships, free pro memberships, which completely changed the game for us because we were able to make, you know, really high quality graphics. We were able to use our brand palette, all of these things really that made such a big difference to making our outward look really professional and slick. Our staff members are so highly skilled, we wanted to make sure that we were looking very highly skilled from the outside as well. So it was really trying to do justice to the work that was going on across Bathmind already.
Yeah, love that, and you can see that. I think that definitely when you look at Instagram, you can see the upgrade to that visual aesthetic that comes across on the grid.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, can definitely see that. So remind me where we're at right now on socials. What channels? Where do you show up now?
So at the moment, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. And we are on YouTube as well. We, you know, don't have a strong following on YouTube because we're very new to video. We're really excited to kind of delve into that a little bit more and then be able to show that on our Instagram, on our Facebook, using YouTube Shorts, looking at Reels, all of that really.
Cool. Yeah, great. You've kind of touched upon a real hot topic and tactic right now, which is short form video.
Yeah.
And in brackets, video in general. And it's great to see what you're doing. Now, everybody should check out their Instagram account. We'll pop some links in the show notes. But I love what you're doing with Reels on Instagram.
Again, Emily, you're listening, I know. Emily has been doing some fantastic work with being just a little bit more creative when it comes to Reels. We have so much amazing content going on every single day. We have groups every day. We have our, you know, crisis service running every night. You know, we figured that there are ways to still be sensitive to our clients and do good video content.
Yes.
And that's important.
That's so important, and that's what was a point I was going to ask you, is how do you find that balance? And the creativity is super key, because actually what you put out on your Reels versus your stories versus your grid, it all has a different approach.
Exactly.
So talk to us about that and how you kind of pick those things apart.
Yeah, it's tricky but also very exciting. And this is the kind of balance that myself and my colleague Emily really like. So we basically look at, as you say, even just on Instagram, different formats for different purposes. Our Reels, we're trying to be very visual with, we're trying to incorporate sound, very calming aesthetics, really give people an opportunity to look at something that can help their well-being that day. whether that's, a calm garden with some birds tweeting, or if that's something a bit more practical about learning a little bit more about ways to talk about your mental health. Stories, we really like to be able to share local organisations that we work with, things we love, resources we love, and that's really nice because at the end of the day, we are a charity in the community. We are alongside countless other charities doing the hard work, and we want to support them as well. We're not out here in isolation. And for posts, we're very big on carousels. We love posts that you can swipe and just make sure that you feel you're getting a bigger resource out of one small post. That particularly helps when it comes to tips about, keeping isolation at bay or understanding CBT, stuff like that people may not want to Google extensively. They just want to see it on their Instagram feed, save it and move on.
Yeah. Great tactics, great approach. As you said, making sure that each element has got a different approach, like you say, and creating snackable content that they can still scroll through and get value from is really important. And I noticed that looking at your feed is that kind of storytelling on one format, some real value-based stuff with the reels, and I don't know what the word is, MSR or something like that. Is that sound?
Yeah, what is it? It's like ASMR or something,
yes,
isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's that, birds tweeting, and I just love it. I think it's really, really great, really useful.
Yeah.
But how does that differ between what you do on Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn? Do you have a different approach?
We do, yeah. So LinkedIn, for example, we will really appeal to more of our corporate audience. So as I mentioned, we call it the Wellbeing in the Workplace package. This is a really, really successful and thriving part of our charity where we are delivering expert mental health training across tons of organisations. We do in charity settings, we do corporate settings, youth settings, and so on. We really use LinkedIn to try and appeal to that audience as best as possible. It is more of a corporate vibe on LinkedIn. We're sharing upcoming mental health first aid courses. We're sharing upcoming opportunities to fundraise with us. Stuff that I hope, people who are really interested in mental health and passionate about it, who, do a job day to day and they want to incorporate that into their job, we're hoping that it appeals to them really. Facebook's different again, as you know, completely different. We are putting more information about services out on Facebook, groups that you can join, and different courses. For example, we have a drama course starting soon.
Cool.
It's a really exciting way to be able to share these courses and these information without putting it in people's inboxes every second.
Yeah. Do you use Facebook groups much?
We do, yes. So this is a great way for our wellbeing groups to keep in touch, while also being, monitored, I guess, by our wellbeing staff.
Yeah.
So being able to actually have someone there who can put in, oh, have you tried this recipe? Have you tried this walking route? So it's a really nice supervised way to chat to other people in their groups. And then, if they want to talk outside that, they do. But it's a really nice way for staff to feel a little bit more involved with our social media, which sometimes is really hard.
It can be, absolutely. And so you're creating private groups for people who you're supporting offline in a group. You give them a space to continue that relationship online in a, as you say, a supervised way, I guess.
Yeah.
Was there much fear around doing that? Was there much red tape about setting that up?
You know what? Because social media was it just didn't sit with anyone before, I was able to come in and to build a little bit more of a team. There wasn't much red tape. Something that's really one of the best things about working at Bathmind is the senior leadership's confidence and enthusiasm in their staff. It's very much when I come up with an idea, it's okay, how can we make this happen? Rather than have you considered this, this and this.
Yeah.
Because, we're professionals and we're comprehensive staff. We think of the this and this. That makes it a really nice place to work because your ideas can come to life quite quickly.
Yeah.
Everyone's very up for making the experience of the client better as well. And that's really important. You can see that whenever a new idea comes up. So not much red tape, thankfully, and not too much of a process to set them up. We trust our staff to keep it going in a way that suits the clients, really. Yeah,
cool. And so I think that's really impactful. I think being able to offer that. I mean, when I first started in social and local government years and years ago, the idea of setting up a Facebook group for kids in care who all knew each other to talk to their personal advisors was just unheard of and just completely horrendous of a suggestion, How dare I even think about that? but actually the mechanisms that you can put in place allow that to work and allow to give, like you say, a better service to the client, don't they?
Exactly that, and they can really thrive when you've got the right staff members who feel interested in what social media and like networking opportunities can do for clients.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's a mix of having the right workplace, having the right kind of trust and enthusiasm for colleagues, and having the right kind of, I guess, staff that are interested in what digital can do.
Yeah, and the tools. I think, you know, back in the day, there probably wasn't as an extensive a setting as there is available now on Facebook groups, but there's so much you can use in terms of moderation and approvals for content to be posted. Exactly. And, you know, whether it's on or off at certain times of the day and things, and, you know, so your staff don't get notifications in the evening.
Exactly, that is a big one, I must admit. I think we're a mental health charity. We're all think we're very, very strong with our boundaries, but we all care, you know, and that's the hardest bit sometimes. But, you know, it's very important to keep those boundaries. Log out of the accounts on the weekends, you know, make sure your automatic replies are up. It's those kind of boundaries that keep us from burnout. And, you know, we have some amazing weekend staff that are working throughout the weekend. So they are there to support. You just need to know when to individually step back.
Yeah, definitely. So lots of channels, lots of different uses. And you mentioned right at the start how fundamental social media is to the charity sector in fundraising and for individual giving. So talk us through why that's so, for anyone who doesn't realise, and also a bit about like what's worked for you. What impact have you seen?
Sure, I think for us, you know, the biggest revelation was this kind of individual giving element to social media. Having Facebook donate, having Instagram donate now, being able to do campaigns that even not necessarily, you're not taking money through social media, they are going back to your website, increasing traffic and increasing donations. I don't know how we would have been able to raise like effective funds over COVID if it wasn't for social media.
Wow.
And that feels really powerful, and it's very good for morale in the comms team.
Yeah.
And it allows us to think about the impact of the work we're doing. And I think that can be tough sometimes on social media. You can feel quite within the social media world and quite distant from what's going on day to day. But that allowed it to put it in perspective for us and to bring it back and to think, okay, this is where the money's going. This is the impact and the value of social media.
Yeah.
But I would say, you know, for any charity, you know, particularly smaller charities that are a bit nervous about getting into social media, take a look first at the way that Facebook can bring in donations, that, you know, you can share campaigns on Twitter and you know, get them regionally trending, if not nationally. Hasn't happened to us yet, but, you know, you never know. Maybe.
It's a goal.
It's a goal, exactly. You've got to have goals. Yeah, I would really look into how quite immediate money can come in through social media, and just think, you know, it's all part of the comms plan of getting a campaign out there. Yes, you can go to your press, yes, you can go to your current supporters, but there is a whole new audience out there on social media that's, you know, ready to engage. And if it's not big bucks immediately, it's still a couple of quid every now and then that, you know, makes the difference.
Yeah, and that's the power, right? It's like the millions, if not billions of people who you could potentially access.
Exactly.
That's what's so great about social media, for free.
For free, exactly.
All you have to do is find the time and invest the time in understanding the tools.
Yeah.
And planning out the story and the campaign properly. How did you go about that through COVID? So you're obviously saying you did see some fundraising from individual giving happen.
Yeah.
What sort of content, what was your strategy during that time?
So our strategy completely shifted, as so many organisations, charities did. We all of a sudden were digital. We weren't necessarily at the position as a charity yet that we were ready to go straight to digital, but because we're a hard-working team, that happened quite quickly. All of our services went online, so we wanted to reflect that on our social media. We wanted people to know we were still there. There was no Bathmind taking a step back whilst COVID was going on. If anything, we worked a lot harder and we grew at such an exponential rate, to the point where we needed to reflect that on our social channels. So the kind of content that was going out was, you know, we are still here. Here's our phone number. Here is our phone lines, our crisis lines. Here's how you can get a befriending call every week if you need it, etc., etc. If people didn't know about Bathmind before then, they definitely knew across the COVID period, because people were struggling. And we got a lot of support from local charities and organisations who weren't sure where to signpost people to for mental health. So they pushed towards Bathmind, and yeah, luckily we were there still operating. So it was very content heavy in terms of where you can access support.
Yeah.
But it was also a lot of COVID specific content. You know, how to look after yourself every day in lockdown, which we all needed.
Yes, definitely. So you focused on that value and that actually delivering support outwardly, which would otherwise have happened offline.
Exactly.
And you would have been trying to get people to come through a different door, if you like. So instead, you were focusing on like providing all of that information. Yeah.
Exactly that. You know, people weren't at libraries, they weren't at community centres, they weren't seeing our posters, they weren't seeing, you know, people that they would see every day, and then maybe in passing they'd mentioned Bath Mind. You know, word of mouth suddenly stopped. A lot of community services just had to close overnight, so we had to really change our approach, go digital, and hope it worked. And it did on the most part. Yeah, it was a really exciting time to be in social media.
So what sort of results did you see then? Fundraising, sign-ups, that sort of stuff?
So we did a COVID-19 appeal. It was in the May of 2020, I believe. So it was from May to the end of summer in 2020. So this is obviously very much in the crux of lockdown. We pulled in, I think it was over 10 grand in the end, which was phenomenal for us. You know, we were a very small team at this point. We only had 2 fundraising staff and 1 staff member who was doing amazing bids, amazing grants, but she was very new to the job. She just started in COVID. So it was myself and my colleague Hannah who, just decided that we needed some sort of appeal. We needed to make our messaging very clear. We needed support. We needed these vital funds. We couldn't continue through COVID without it. So we needed our community to support us. A few like different taglines, like, you're not going out for your cup of coffee. Why not donate your cup of coffee to us?
Nice.
I hope that drew a few people in, but you know, who knows? But it was really helpful, and it meant that the money coming in could go straight to these COVID services that needed support. And you know, our funding had stopped at that point. So
And what at that time, and even now, what would you say is your most engaged platform? What's delivered the most results for you?
You know what? Considering it was new, I personally think Instagram. But mostly because of how personal it is. You know, we have clients and people that will call up our crisis line in the evening and then share on their Instagram story the next day how it saved their life.
Wow.
It's very emotional to read, as you can imagine, but also the impact of that and being able to show people that there are people at the other end of these services. You know, there's no abstract here. Sometimes you get with a national charity, you think, you know, where's the money going? We can very easily show where the money's going, and that is incredibly powerful. For our donors, but also for us.
Yeah,
so,
100%. And you've touched upon a really important part. When I first started working with small charities, I say it to everybody because it's true, is that people don't necessarily tell the story enough.
Exactly.
They don't show the why and the how. Yeah. So why do we need that money? How is it going to be spent? Instead, they just focus on ask. Yeah. Donate. And that creates a disconnect. And you are supposed to, or you know, the aim is to really bring those people on a journey with you.
Very much
and if you really build that community and nurture them and show them the value of your service and where their money is going, then that individual giving just increases.
Exactly that. And you know, we've still got stuff to learn when it comes to individual giving and fundraising campaigns, but our strongest pull always is that individual impact. You know, we're very lucky to have a lot of people that come to us for support. They're very happy to talk about the support they've received afterwards.
It's brilliant.
It's fantastic, and you know, it's not something everyone can do.
No.
You know, it's incredibly personal, the support you receive with your mental health and well-being. So we're very lucky that we have clients that will talk to us about that and share it with the wider public.
I guess that's testament to the work that you're doing, isn't it?
I'd like to think so.
Because the fact that somebody who's suffering from mental health problems have come to you probably unable to talk and are at that point of that last point of needing help, and suddenly the fact that you've worked with them enables them to talk is quite a powerful story, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it is a testament to our staff, our services, and the people of Vanes. It really is. You know, we completely prove to ourselves how resilient we are every single day, and lockdown was a real testament to that.
Yeah. So moving forward, what are the plans for your social media and your audience and continued growth, and how do we get more impact from what you're doing online?
I think the biggest thing for us now to move into is video. We've like dabbled and dabbled with reels. I think it's going really well. I think now we're going to be moving more towards more consistent reels with our staff, trying to introduce our team a little bit more, make our service team feel part of the show. You know, they are running these services. They deserve the limelight, in my opinion. And definitely trying to get into YouTube a little bit more and being able to share that on our social channels. We've got some great volunteers that are really enthusiastic about video content. So we're trying to work with them as best as possible and figure out how we can share more tips on video.
Cool. I can see client case study interviews on YouTube.
Yeah, we've got one up at the moment and it's done so well. Yeah, and it was just very emotional to watch. I cry every time I watch it.
I bet.
Yeah, no,
But that's powerful, isn't
powerful.
it? And that's providing so much awareness and reporting on impact. Like, it's immeasurable, really.
Exactly that. I think, you know, there's only so much national campaigns can do when it comes to breaking the stigma. If you see your neighbours, your loved ones talking about mental health, well-being, understanding how to look after yourself, that's going to break the stigma a lot quicker, just because of how we are and the nature of how we are as people, really. Yeah,
definitely. Maybe something like Headspace. Maybe something a bit like...
Yeah. I mean, I tag Headspace in every single little meditation post we have.
Headspace.
They're all fab, and that's a really nice thing about social media as well. You can engage with these big national companies that are doing similar work to you, and continue that mission, really.
Yeah, and they support you back, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah,
that's the lovely really thing. Because at the end of a Twitter feed for a national charity, is still a human being.
Exactly.
Who totally gets the cause.
Yeah.
So what other charities do you love on social media?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's really biased. I love my fellow local minds. We have really, I guess, like fun relationship with our fellow local minds, because we are all doing very similar work but in different patches. Services are so localised when it comes to local minds in that we are really tailored to what our local population wants. So it's really, really fun to see other local minds, like, for example, Devon Mind have a fantastic social media. It's not really interesting to see the similar work, but how they're doing it differently.
How they portray it differently,
Exactly. And because we all share the same brand, it is really nice to get a bit of inspiration here and there. We've got some, great partners like Carers Centre, Genesis Trust, some really great charities across Spain. That social media is fantastic. I'm a particular fan of Off the Record in Bristol at the moment.
Yes, I love them.
Fantastic social media feed.
Yeah.
So I must admit, I'm not the kind of person that doesn't look at other people's feeds. I look for inspiration everywhere.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I think everybody, particularly in the charitable sector, they are really giving with their knowledge, with what's worked, what doesn't, and everybody recognises the work that others are doing. And why not? Like, it's out there, taking inspiration. If that results in you being able to deliver more impact and help more people, then we should all be sharing.
A big fan of just sharing learning, to be honest. As our CEO says, it's a famous phrase of hers that she has adopted, don't reinvent the wheel. And it's so true. We say this all the time, like, why reinvent the wheel when actually we can use learning from other charities, other organisations, and most of the time people are so happy to share, which is really nice.
And if you see something, love it, get inspired, do it differently or the same, more often than not you're going to compliment the person that you learnt it from.
Exactly. I love crediting people in the captions as well. It just makes people's day.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely.
I love it. Cool. So on that note, we're going to look at next some people who aren't doing social media very well with this episode's social media fail. This episode's social media fail looks at Italian clothing brand Benetton and a post that they shared in 2017, which, can you believe it, had the caption, "Sorry ladies, girls not allowed!" ! Hashtag Benetton, hashtag kids. What do we think of that, Jodie?
I'm not impressed, quite frankly. I'm not impressed. I think, it does baffle me that big teams work on these campaigns and they don't pick up on, I think, just basic social cues. Around
common sense.
Common sense around social commentary, exclusion in a world where we are trying to embrace inclusion in every way possible. I'd like to think they've learnt their lesson from 2017, but who knows at this point?
Who knows? I mean, that's only 5 years ago.
And that's the thing, it's not just sexist. It is, in a world that's trying to embrace, non-binary, people, and understanding, sexuality and gender so differently. I'm surprised they went for this.
I am 100% surprised. So understandably, this had thousands of likes, got removed very quickly, and was completely criticised, as we've just said there. As a brand, they were criticised for basically reinforcing gender inequality among young children as well.
That's the kicker.
It is the kicker, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. We all remember what it's like to be young. You don't need reinforcing with messages that are doing you harm. And at the end of the day, young people's mental health needs to be nurtured in a way that they are able to explore their identity, their gender, their sexuality in a way that is safe, in a way that feels very personal to them, and isn't, showcased in problematic ways on brands that they follow.
100%. You've summed it up beautifully. I wonder whether this is just ignorance or inexperience. Somebody's got loose on the old socials and thought, I'm going to type this out and press post.
Yeah.
In which case, horrific first post to send, and I wish them well.
Completely.
Or was this a campaign gone wrong?
I would say a campaign gone wrong. Yeah, I would. Potentially a bit of an experience in there. I can understand the intentions, but at the end of the day, we have a duty of care to people that are looking at our content. It's not as formalised as many duties of care in other jobs per se, particularly in our line of work where it's a very formal duty of care. But there is an implied duty of care that we need to make sure the content we're putting out isn't harming people. And I think perhaps they just overlooked that and looked for something cute, strappy, something that would stick in people's minds, but it is obviously stuck in people's minds for the wrong reason. So. Yeah,
they've obviously tried to create a community for males, I guess.
Yeah,
for
young boys, I guess. Yeah.
But actually, in trying to formulate that community, they've completely excluded and highlighted actually an attitude that's really outdated, old, and not aligned with a lot of the audience on that particular platform or any social media platform.
It ain't welcome.
It ain't welcome, exactly. Bye-bye, Benetton. Bye-bye. Thanks, Jodie.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on Beyond the Hashtag.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, everyone.